All right, welcome back to your daily math lesson. Today we're reviewing area and perimeter. And the problem that we're going to do is one long one, okay? But let me say, it's a little easier than it looks. I think it's easier than some of the problems we did yesterday, okay? And it's creative, so we all kind of like that. So I need a reader to read number 5, our problem, and then all of our criteria right here, our rules. Josiah?
Mrs. Leon decides to make a raised garden bed for her backyard. Her plan for the garden bed includes the following. It will be in the shape of a rectangle. The sides of the bed will use a total of 30 feet in cedar boards. Each side will be longer than 1 foot. The length and the width will measure the whole feet.
All right. Let's mark this up first. Yes. Pencil. Madeline, can you grab him one from our bucket? Thank you. All right, so first thing, we need to mark up the problem, okay? Some of you are still not doing that. I promise it'll make math easier for you for the rest of time. So, mark it up with me. Is there anything up here in this information that you think's important to mark? Hayden?
It's not a square, it's a rectangle.
Okay, so you're talking this stuff. I just mean up in that sentence. Do we need to mark anything, Josiah?
No, it's just like a story.
Yeah, it's just kind of getting us to picture in our head what's happening. All right, now Hayden's right. It'll be in the shape of a rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and just start drawing some notes, okay? So I know it's going to be a rectangle. Has to be. All right. The sides of the bed, okay, so if I go all the way around the outside edges, we use a total of 30 feet. What does that mean? We know what going around the outside edge means. Do we call that area or perimeter? Abby? Perimeter. So is it safe to say that 30 feet around the outside is our perimeter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. So over here somewhere, I'm going to put P equals 30 feet. So no matter what we do, the perimeter has to be 30 feet. Okay, next rule, each side will be longer than 1 foot. That means I cannot have 1 foot on the end and then really long length. Okay, we are not allowed to do that. And then this last one just says we're using whole feet. So I couldn't say 10.5 feet on one side, which I don't think any of us would try to do anyway. Okay, but we do need to make sure it's in whole feet. So no half, no fractions. All right. Now, part A says, use the grid below to draw 3 different rectangles. That's probably very important. Put that in the box. That can each represent Ms. Leon's garden bed. Be sure to use all 30 feet of the boards for each bed. That also seems important. All right, now I'm going to scroll down just a little bit so that we can see the questions at the bottom. So they gave us the 3 choices down at the bottom. So our job is to come up with 3 different possible garden shapes. Okay, we have to follow the rules we had, which is the perimeter is 30 feet and it has to be a rectangle. No sides can be 1 foot. Well, what do you guys think we should do? What could we try to do? Angie? So we know, we're trying to figure out if perimeter is 30, what's one way her garden could be shaped, like the length and the width? How can we start to figure that out?
Like starting with 30, maybe that's the area.
Okay, well it's not the area, it's the perimeter, but it's very helpful. So we do need to start with the 30. Okay, I have 30 feet to use to wrap all the way around this shape. This is kind of a guess and check thing, okay? Let's just start with, I don't know, let's just say the width is 2. Can we all go with that? Keep our numbers simple. So go ahead on your rectangle, label your width 2 and 2. Now if all the way around is 30, how can I figure out what I've already used up? Hayden?
You add 2 and 2.
I add 2 and 2, which is 4 feet. Should I subtract that from my total perimeter? Okay, So everybody do this with me. I should see pencils moving. If not, that's the type of thing we'll lose a tally over. All right. Well, now I still have 26 feet left over. So is my length 26 feet? Why not? Cadence, you're shaking your head no. Why can't that be 26?
Because 26 plus 26 is 30.
Ah, do I have to split that into two pieces? Okay, so this should sound familiar, right? This is kind of like when we find the missing side in perimeter problem. So 26 is going to go here and here, but I have to split it up first. So how do I split 26 into two even pieces? Abby?
26 divided by 2.
26 divided by 2. So if you don't know that math fact, which you may not because it's not one we've worked on, you can do 26 divided by 2. Whoop. I didn't leave room for my lines. So this is good review. Everyone do it with me. You should be writing this down. 2 goes into 2 how many times? Thank you, those of you who are participating. Angie?
1.
Once. So we put a 1 on the top. 1 times 2 is 2. And we subtract. 2 minus 2 is 0. We know we have to send that number on a vacation up here to the 6. Although the 0 doesn't really matter. All right, now, someone different that's not answered. How many 2's will go into 6? No going over. 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 0. So, when we split 26 in half, we're going to end up with 13 feet on the top and 13 feet on the bottom. Okay, now let's make sure we followed all our rules. First of all, if I add this all together, I should get 30 feet. So we know 13 and 13 is 26. 27, 28, 29, 30. So we did that. None of our sides are 1 foot. Did we meet all the criteria? Yeah, we did. So now all we got to do is draw it on here. Now this says that each box is 1 square foot. So my width is 2 feet. So I'm just going to start up here. I'm going to move in 1. I don't want it right on the edge. So 2 feet wide, 13 long. So you got to count over 13. 1, 2, 3. And then back up 2. And then we can close the top of our garden.
That's the tiniest.
That is tiny. So now I'm going to label 2 of my sides, 1 of my lengths and 1 of my widths, just to be totally clear. So that's number 1, okay? So let's say garden bed 1, the length is 13 feet. Our width was 2 feet. Oh, and they want us to have an area. How do we figure out the area of our garden? Cadence?
13 plus
13 times 2, okay? All right, so we've got to do 13 times 2. However, does anyone see something up here that might help me out from avoiding doing this problem again? Abby?
you could do like 3 times 2.
Have I already basically figured 26 divided by 2 is 13?
Yeah.
So then 13 times 2 is 26, right? But if you didn't remember that, you could go ahead and do it again. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. So our area is 26 feet. Hayden?
No, you
Oh.
have to put squared because
Okay.
it's not like the others. Cause
It's the answer to the area, right? Okay, good. So we did it one time. They want us to just find 3 different ways she could make her garden, okay? So the next time, instead of doing a width of 2 feet, what do you think we should do? Abby?
maybe a width of one.
We can't do 1, right? So we've got to go up from 2 a little bit. Yeah?
What about 3?
What about 3? Let's do it. All right, so I'm not going to erase all of this. I'm just going to erase the work and the numbers we picked from last time. I can use that same rectangle. All right, we still need a perimeter of 30. And Abby said let's try a width of 3. So go ahead and label your rectangle. All right, now who remembers what we did last time? Once we knew our width, what's our next step? Hayden?
We divided? No, we added it.
We added them together. So we've used up 6 feet so far. So how do I know how much feet I have left? Josiah?
You, so you do 3 plus 3, you have 6, and then you do 30 divided by 6.
Divided by? Think for a minute.
Minus.
Good, okay. So we have 30 feet total all the way around. We've already used up 6 just from our width. So let's subtract. I cannot do this. I must borrow from my 3. All right, so I got 24. See, getting some thumbs ups. All right, so now we have 24 feet left. But that can't be my length. I have to split it to 2 places. So splitting 24 in half, you might know what is half of 24. Or you can think 24 divided by 2, which is, Cadence? 12. So we know our length has to be 12 feet. All right, now how can I check if I did that accurately before I put it on the grid? Because I don't like erasing constantly. Hayden, how do I check that?
3 plus 3 and 12 plus 12.
Should equal 30. So I've got 24 plus 3 more is 27 plus 3 more is 30. So that checks.
Why do you keep on putting arrows near the 24 and then you keep on saying you're going to put them there when you actually don't?
Okay, so let me answer the first part. I didn't understand the second part. I am just showing you that this 24, I have to split it to 2 lengths. That's what the arrows are showing, okay? So what was the second part?
Like I was saying, why you put the arrows there and I thought you were supposed to write the 24 on the lengths and just that's kind of what I'm confused.
Okay, so 24 can't just be 1 length because then that would leave the whole other length with nothing. So when we found that the width added together was 6. So you're following to that step, right? Okay, all we did was add the sides that we knew. So we knew the width is 3. So 3 plus 3 was 6. And then we know our total perimeter has to be 30 because they told us that, right? So if I take 30 and take away 6 that we already used, what I have left is 24 feet. But I can't stick that all on one side because I still have 2 sides, okay? So I think by the third one of these, you're going to get the hang of it, okay? All right.
What will happen if you put 24 on both of the sides?
Well then, Angie, when you went back to check it, if I had 24 and 24, when I add those together, I'm going to realize I'm already to 48 feet, which is over what they said, right? So then you would know you'd have to go back and check your work, okay? That's why it's important to check. All right, so I think this will work. We've already checked it. Let's go ahead and draw it on our grid. You can put it wherever you want. This time it is 3 feet wide and 12 long.
Did you make up the 12?
We knew it had to be a 12 because we had to divide the 24 by 2. And that's the step every time because there's always going to be 2 sides you don't know still. So I didn't make up the 12. I knew that 24 divided into 2 groups had to be 12 and 12. Okay? Just keep writing with me and the next one will help make this make sense for you. So this one's very similar to the first one, but a little bit different. So now it's 12 feet long and 3 feet wide. You know what, I probably should have labeled this garden number 1, since that's where I wrote this. And this would be garden number 2. So go ahead and fill in your length and your width. And if you can, go ahead and find your area. We all know our formula for area. When I'm done writing, you can give me a thumbs up if you agree. And I think I got my label right this time. All right, I've got 1 thumbs up. Looks okay. Getting some more. Looks like I didn't mess up. right, so now we just have to do one more. And this time, I'm kind of thinking, let's bump up the width so we get a kind of different looking shape. Josiah, what are you thinking?
5.
All right, let's try 5. So, we can erase all this work. Well, you don't have to. I have to. All right, so third one. And Josiah said, let's just try a width of 5. Okay, so we label our 5s for our width. Oh, I erased my perimeter. My perimeter has to be 30 feet. Okay, so we know so far, with just the width, we've used up how many feet of our perimeter? I'm about to call some victims. Abby?
Well, you subtract,
Well, how much have we used up total so far?
10.
10, because 5 plus 5 is 10. So that's really our step 1. All right, now go on with what you're saying, Abby. Once we know we've used up 10, what do we do next?
You subtract 10 from 30,
Good.
which is 1.
So 30 minus 10 that we've already used would give us 20 feet left. All right. Angie, make sure you're listening to this part. I have 20 feet left to show my whole shape. So why does it make sense that we have to split 20 into 2 pieces? How many sides of my shape do I have left to label? 2. Okay, so that is why. I have 20 feet remaining, but I still have to label 2 sides. So I have to split 20 feet into 2 pieces. Okay? So 20 divided by 2, we should know that math fact, is 10. So let's label all our sides and make sure this works by checking our answer. If I add 10 and 10 is 20, plus 10 more, I get 30 feet. Okay, any questions on how we did that part so far? All right, please draw your third garden over here, and then you can fill out your garden bed 3 information down below.
I can barely see it.
And I know these are kind of hard to count, so that is why it kind of is important. Go ahead and write down your side lengths, at least on 2 sides, just in case you made a mistake. All right, and we know this is garden number 3. I will give you a moment to finish up. If you agree with my garden bed 3 information at the bottom, you can give me a thumbs up.
This is here.
Yes.
How come you got 26 feet and then you did like 12 times sand on the other one?
12 times 3 on the other one.
On that garden bed number 2 in the area.
Okay, so the areas are all going to be different based on how we drew our shape. Okay, so even though the perimeter was 30 feet, did our area continue to change depending on how it was drawn? So the areas won't always be the same because it's different. Instead of adding all our side lengths, we multiplied just 2 of them. So they should all be different. Any questions? All right, nice job. So this type of problem is hard, but I think you guys could do this on your own if you were asked, okay? Most of you could. You could at least get started. So thank you for slogging through that with me. You do have a practice worksheet online. We'll see you tomorrow.